what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Pack Leader Podcast. BB, how we doing?
Doing well, Coach.
Good. Season 4, Episode 8. It's flown by, but here we are, man. What do you got going on for Easter weekend?
My wife is a triplet, by the way. She's got a fraternal twin brother and an identical twin sister. It's crazy. But her twin sister's oldest son, he loves it out here. They live in Oklahoma, but he loves it out here. So he went to USC Sumter last year and transferred with his coach to Erskine. He plays soccer there. Mm-hmm. So because he's here without much family, he's coming over, and we're just going to stay home and do that.
Nice. That's awesome. I got my little nieces coming over Sunday. I'm going to do a little Easter egg hunt in the backyard type deal. So
nice.
That should be fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And a great way to go into Easter weekend is with a win. The women's tennis team just literally just now clinched their trip to the first round of the playoffs. Alex and Ryan, when did y'all say that was going to be?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow will be round 2.
Okay.
So today was round 1.
All right, gotcha.
They just advanced.
Heck yeah. So
Nail-biter.
Yeah. Congratulations to women's tennis. I want to jump in next to all things Newberry Wrestling. Coach, hit us with a pin pool update.
So pin pool, as you may know, is finalized. Season's over, so there are no more pins. We finished with 87, and we exceeded our goal of $400 per pin with a total of $453 per pin. So thank you, pin pool members, for helping us get to that number. John Parker led the team with 15. Kale Schrader had 9, and Kale Alderman with, we didn't learn this till after the season, a torn ACL all year. Finished with 7, third place. The fastest came by Kale Schrader against Laith Ibrahim from Colorado Mines, and that was at Midwest Classic. Yep. So tough tournament, tough competition. Quickest pin of the year, Kale Schrader, 25 seconds. Number 2 fastest pin, Nick Humphreys, beat Isaiah Mulway from Allen in 43 seconds. And again, just thank you to all our Pimple members for chipping in and helping this be an awesome campaign. And I think we've got some updates on payment situations. Yeah, if you could explain that, Coach.
For sure. So at this point, all Pin Pool members should have received an individual email from me with pledge fulfillment information, when you pledged, how much you pledged, and what the total gift amount would be. So if you didn't get that, I know sometimes things go to spam. Check your spam folder, but also just let me know, and I'm happy to resend that to you. I did want to clarify that if you wanted to make and fulfill your pledge gift in installments, that's an option. So if you go to our website, in the link that I send you, you have an option to do a one-time payment, or Pin Pool members can do monthly installments and just go. You can set it up as a recurring payment monthly that'll automatically draft your account, or you can just come back, whenever you're ready, month after month, to make that payment as well. So I know that's an option that a couple people have asked for that have pledged at higher levels. That's completely fine. You still get all your Pin Pool rewards, and that money still goes towards our annual operating budget to help supplement things like recruiting, the trip that we took out to Colorado this year. The list is so long. So we really, like Coach said, thank you guys so much for helping make this another successful campaign. In addition to recruiting, fundraising is also the lifeline of a successful college program, and we have the best Pin Pool members, the best donors, the best supporters out there, and we really appreciate it.
For sure. And just one final point on that. As it is right now, we don't really, we do send monthly updates on the pin count, but it's just sort of a running total. If this is something that is a popular plan, people would rather pay as we get pins during the season, because obviously we're after the season now, we're talking about fulfilling this past year's, but next year when it rolls around, we can do a little extra legwork on our end and include a this month's total, last month's total, so it'll be easy to tell, okay, last month they were at 30 pins, this month they're at 40, so my pin pledge amount, maybe if it's $1 or $5, whatever, it's 10 or 50 or whatever, and that makes it a little easier.
Basically the pay as you go.
Month to month, yeah. So I think that's sort of what's been getting requested, at least a couple that I've heard. So not only can you set up a payment plan after the season, where we're at now, but next year I think it'll be a popular option, and please let us know with some feedback if this is not what people are asking for, but it's what I've kind of heard from a couple folks. We can do a little extra work and put, this is the new total, this is last month's total, so if you are paying month to month, it'll be a lot easier math to do on that end.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate you bringing that up. And once we circle back in the fall, we'll definitely come back to that. But thank you, everyone, for making another successful pin pool campaign. And even as it stands now, if you still have yet to fulfill your pledge, if you'd like to see those dollars go to something more specifically, the pin pool splash items are still out there. So that list is in my monthly email to you guys. There are some pretty specific needs that we have as a program that are listed out for you in that link that I send out. If you'd rather see those dollars go towards something like that, feel free to do that instead of fulfilling your pledge and just sending that money as a lump sum. So I'll make sure to include that in my next email to you. And if you got any questions, feel free to shoot me a text or email. But thank you so much. Next thing I wanted to talk about is Newberry Wrestling Club and just Newberry Wrestling camps. We're in the spring and we're getting to that time of the season where everyone's looking towards those off-season training opportunities.
Absolutely. And we've kind of got sort of a few. Some of them blend together and bleed into each other, and that would be our Weekend Warriors and our Newberry Wrestling Club. Mm-hmm. The Weekend Warriors every Sunday from 1 to 3?
1 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then the club meets, Monday?
Wednesday and Thursday.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I knew it was one of the Tuesday, Thursdays and one of the Wednesday, Fridays. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, the Newberry Wrestling Club meets. And I think there's certain, if you're in the club, you get to come to Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, pretty much.
But some Weekend Warrior folks aren't in the club. So they're kind of separate, but they do bleed together. Great opportunities. So 4 days a week, come train with John Parker and Andrew Reed. And there's always
college guys in and
out of the room. Coach and I are up there sometimes still. Sometimes my kids want to go. They don't. They're random with when they like to show up. So there's no telling who's going to be in there to help you get better. But great opportunities, and then we'll be doing that up until we hit the summer camp season, and that is
June 21st through the 27th.
Yep, and that's the Newberry Wrestling camps. Coach, you want to explain those a little bit?
Yeah, so, and before I jump to Newberry Wrestling camps, the club, you mentioned Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that's 5:30 to 7 every day. So if you want to come to that, they're $10 per practice, so you can just pay as you go. That way you're not locked into anything, long term. But if you would like a little bit of a savings, you can go to NewberryWrestlingCamps.com and register ahead of time and save a few dollars there. So you'll see an option at the top of the page that says clubs, and that's where you can register. And before we jump to the camps, I did want to say congrats, because we hosted a freestyle tournament here a couple weekends ago. It was really great turnout, and Newberry Wrestling Club actually had a few people that placed. I'm kind of scrolling back in the group chat right now to see who placed, so give me 2 seconds. We were talking about singlets, so I got to get through that. But Brant plays fourth and Wyatt plays third. That's Leah Crawford's kids. And then also Nate got second place. I wanted to give a shout out to Riker. He placed as well. He's Jared Wolstenhume. He used to work here. That's his boy. And we had a couple other places out there as well. So congrats to all of those guys who did well. I know we got a group traveling out to Camden this weekend as well. So looking forward to see y'all continuing to be successful. Like Coach mentioned, though, we do have our camps coming up June 21st through the 27th. We have Takedown Elite that runs the 21st through the 23rd. Then we have Master on the Mat that runs the 23rd through the 25th. And then we roll right into our Vantage Wrestling Duels, which is the 25th through the 27th. Winning team gets a free custom pair or set of Vantage singlets, and it's a good time. Yeah,
and first off, it's a great deal. Shout out to Vantage. They're awesome. We've been working with them. Actually, I've been emailing Devin for the camp gear, getting it designed and approved and all that stuff. But also, we're bouncing an idea back and forth of maybe not just selling the Newberry stuff, but expanding what we offer to the campers with just some Vantage gear as well. So, a good way to grow that partnership a little bit. But the Vantage Duels, always a huge hit. Lots of teams, not even just from the Southeast. Like, we've had teams from Michigan and Texas and all kind of stuff who just want to get out and get some different competition. But that's always great. And then the first two camps, the Takedown Elite and Master on the Mat camp, those are both technique camps where all age groups, so the competition camps is pretty much just high school, but the technique camps are like K through 12 pretty much. We will have guys who are on beginner and young wrestler duty who will kind of be maybe toning down the level of technique a little bit to make it a little more digestible for some of those younger wrestlers. But yeah, we very comprehensive in terms of what we offer, both technique-wise as well as skill level-wise.
Yeah, for sure. And they do a great job with it. Literally, they take that young group to another mat, and they're running technique at a level that's more appropriate for them. And then usually me and Coach have the older group on another mat, and it works really well. So please come and join us for that. Any coaches that are looking for opportunities, we do offer team rates that start at 13 plus. So if you got you're bringing a group of 13, we start to offer a 10% discount there. You can find that at NewberryWrestlingCamps.com, or you can just reach out to me directly, and we can chat and catch up and figure out what works for you. So wanted to extend that invite because it's definitely a great opportunity for some summer training as you're looking to make a podium run, everybody, this next coming season. Moving on, we had our end of the year awards banquet. Got to eat some delicious barbecue at Steel Horse Smokehouse. They always take care of us. And I wanted to say congrats to all of our award winners. So every year, we didn't have it last year, but for the last few years, we've been going to Steel Horse Smokehouse to do our annual end of the year awards. We do our performance awards. We give out some pretty funny like superlative awards, and also some statistical awards. So we can kind of just bounce back and forth with this one. I'll let you tell everybody who won Wrestler of the Year.
So Wrestler of the Year was one of those. Some years we have like Wrestler of the Year and Most Valuable Wrestler. Mm-hmm. For example, the year Caleb Spears and Isaiah were seniors. Isaiah, I think Isaiah won maybe Most Valuable, but I think Spears might have won Wrestler of the Year because he was actually here for the whole year. Isaiah only wrestled that one semester. Right. So sometimes you run into a situation where it's pretty tight. This year was pretty hands down. John Parker, he was both categories, Wrestler of the Year and Most Valuable. But he led the team with pins, scored the most team points. So statistically, he was the most valuable wrestler. So I think it was pretty much hands down that was going to be John.
Yeah, definitely. And excited to have him back another year.
For sure.
Rookie of the Year went to Braden Tatum, and we define rookie as the year not as your first year in college, but your first year actually in the varsity starting lineup. So while Braden did redshirt last year at Lindenwood, he definitely had a breakout year this year for us, and he ended up knocking off the number 2 seed at the NCAA tournament, and really just had a lot of bright moments for us this year, and I think we felt really comfortable giving him that one. So congrats to Braden.
For sure, and just to touch on Braden, not even having that full season because he broke his hand right before I think even the wrestle offs, if I'm not mistaken. So he didn't get any of the opens. He basically all the time that guys were knocking the rust off, he wasn't able to do that. So super bright spot in the lineup. Having him show out the way he did with such minimal prep time, honestly. Red shirt of the year is kind of one of those guys. I think we like it to be like a true freshman who's redshirting, but I guess somebody who's been at school maybe in the lineup a few years and then redshirts later is certainly up
for that
award. Yeah, eligible to win it. But and sometimes I think last year was probably a little more on the mat performance based, but this year felt just as a guy who took the lead with that group of incoming freshmen and who was whatever was asked, whatever needed to be done, he was always volunteering and putting together a group of guys to do it. But Rylan Madison.
Yeah. He's been a breath of fresh air for that freshman class that came in last fall, and from day one, getting guys in there to do. We talk a lot about supplemental work, getting guys in there to do that on his own, and just somebody who does everything the right way. And as a coach, you want 40 of. So we felt really proud to give him Red Shirt of the Year. Congrats to him. And another one, Nick Humphreys. He won Most Improved for us. He kind of has a non-traditional path. He was with us, then he wasn't. Now he's back, but ended up. We almost named this like the Ride or Die Award because this dude, man. Like, just to give you one example, we had some travel troubles back home, and he ended up hopping in the car and driving to get us from Charlotte. We decided to not take our connecting flight because it was going to have us delayed there for 5 or 6 hours or something, and we asked if he would come pick us up. No questions asked. He hopped in the car, came to get us. But long story short, Most Improved, he was a 49-pounder, ended up stepping up for us to wrestle 65 because of some injuries and never complained about it once. And not only did that, but he also showed some tremendous improvement in doing so. So congrats to Nick Humphreys.
Yeah, and just super competitive guy too. So he's one that I'm excited about getting at a more appropriate weight and seeing what he's able to do.
Yeah.
Coaches Award, which is one of the ones that I think is probably the most important award we offer. It's one of those that I think sometimes gets looked down on because it's like, oh, you just made this to give an award to somebody, and that is truly not it with us at all. But just a leader on and off the mat, one of the better wrestlers we've had in the lineup the last few years, Dayton Fields. I mean, he's working full time in admissions. He's got his grad stuff going on, but he's been phenomenal in the program. We're gonna we're gonna miss him a lot next year when he's gone.
Yeah, I keep saying it. It's going to be big shoes to fill. You know, he's a national qualifier for us. He's a 2-time JUCO All-American. He had 100 wins. The list just goes on and on about the leader he's been for us, which is why he won our most prestigious award. And another really important one is the Pack Leader Award. That went to Caden Pelk. This award really goes to that person. Of course, the Coach's Award is going to go to someone who's showing initiative and those types of things. But the Pack Leader Award is more focused on that guy who's just always kind of doing like the nitty gritty. You know, for example, Caden always just volunteering to take the scale, no matter where we go, on what trip we're on. There's just little stuff like that, doing the jobs that no one else wants to do. And you know, I was setting up for the banquet. Another example, he's the first one in there, and I'm pretty much done. But he walks in, the first words out of his mouth was, "Hey, you know, what can I help do?" And so Pack Leader Award definitely goes to Caden Pelt because he leads by example. And that doesn't always have to be verbal, right? That's
Right. I was actually going to say this is almost more of a lead by example type award, and he's just. You may never, if you were maybe a freshman, maybe a little immature, maybe not as in tune to pick up on the nonverbal cues, you might could even overlook it. But as somebody, you know, coach who just gets the benefit of that extra help, that leading by example all the time, certainly on our radar, and it shows up all the time, and Caden truly exemplifies all that.
Yeah, 110%. Next up, these are kind of new awards for us this year. More performance or statistical oriented type awards. The Grit Award you mentioned in passing, that went to Kel Alderman because he got 15 wins this year, but on what we found out was a torn ACL. Honestly, when we went through the season and he tweaked it, I thought it was probably an MCL or meniscus that was going to need to be repaired. And so he went to get his MRI shortly after regionals, and we found out what the problem actually was. And so he's gotten his surgery. Back on the recovery. He had his first day of PT yesterday, but I mean, the dude never complained about it at all. I mean, you knew it was hurting and bothering him, and you knew what the problem was, but he never complained. He never said, "Coach, you know, I'm gonna hang it up." And so, Grit Award definitely goes to him and is well deserved. So, congrats, Kel Alderman.
Absolutely. And then the next two awards were just statistical. You know, no real argument. The pin machine, obviously, we've mentioned that was John for most pins. And then this one was actually split. It was a tie with 5. The tech machine for most tech falls was tied with Hunter McCullough and Braden Tatum, who, like I said, both had 5. But pretty impressive with Braden because he really kind of only had like half a season with that injury. But both those guys, hammers on top. They're turning people. They're pinning, you know. I guess it'd be not in the tech machine if they were pinning people, but letting guys up too much is what it boils down to. But yeah, guys who go out there and look to score points for sure.
Absolutely. So congrats to all of the guys who won awards, and to the team too, just on a good season. You know, obviously we have battled a lot of adversity, some of which we'll talk about when we get into the competition update. But all in all, just proud of everyone for having grit and getting through the long list of injuries that we sustained this year. So congratulations to everyone. Competition update. Obviously we haven't had anything other than the NCAA championships, which is usually the highlight of the season for us. Not a whole lot to talk about, but we're still going to dive into it. I would say in terms of standout performances, I mentioned it would go to Braden Tatum, who beat the UMary kid, number 2 kid in the country. Really bright moment for him, and he shows a lot of promise.
For sure. And even, you know, the next 2 matches that he ended up dropping were super competitive. Lost 2 All-Americans, so, and actually beat an All-American. The UMary kid actually ended up coming back and being an All-American. So, you know, not the tournament he wanted, but not a bad showing at all for him in that regard.
Yeah, especially for his first time there.
Absolutely.
You know, Reed made his second appearance. You know, was a region champ for us this year and ended up getting back to the tournament. Just still trying to get over some of those mental hurdles. Yeah, as we, you know, and the draw certainly doesn't help either. But at the end of the day, you know, he's 110% capable, and you know we won't accept any excuses for underperforming. He knows what he's capable of. In our one-on-ones, we continue to talk about it, and so expecting more from him last year. Certainly proud of all the work that he puts in, and proud of him for making that tournament again. There's teams in our conference that had no one that made the tournament. So, you know, not to diminish that accomplishment, but just as his coaches knowing what all these guys are capable of, we certainly want more.
Absolutely. And, you know, the fact that it's not even just that we know he's capable of it, he finds moments in those matches to prove it to himself. Mm-hmm. And then when after the match and you're talking to him and he's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's like, why wasn't there just more of this? Mm-hmm. And he sees, he sees clearly that he's capable of beating all these guys. So,
But I relate, man. Like he's one of those guys I relate to. I didn't figure it out till my senior year, and so
Right.
I feel like that's kind of where me and him connect a little bit. Is kind of as a person who struggled with some of those mental hurdles and that performance anxiety, like us being able to see it in another person and trying to like help coach him through it. I'm confident. Third time's a charm.
there we go. Yeah, we'll get it done. John, tough draw. Obviously he went out there, won his first match, second match lost by a point to the national runner-up, and then his the second match he lost to a guy he's already beaten 2 or 3 times this year. So it's tough to keep beating the same guy over and over again.
Yeah.
And that one caught up to him, and he was able to steal one from John, which that part sucked. But honestly, as much as it stinks to talk about John going out there and not getting on the podium, probably the best he's looked all year, honestly.
I mean, Henry, like you said, he lost to Reyes Henry from Fort Hays 3-2. That kid goes to make the national finals and has been, one of the best in the country since he came from JUCO. So, and John's right there, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's right there. So really proud of him, and you can best believe he's back at it. I need you to get this thumb better so you can get back to one-on-ones.
Another performance update. My carpentry skills have taken a bit of a hit. Table saw got me. But we're almost fully recovered. Didn't lose anything, thank goodness. So
he did get me. I was in the kitchen cooking a couple of weeks ago, and my phone goes off, and I look at it, and the notification is like, I just cut my thumb off. And if you know Blanton, I'm like, it's not that crazy. So, I'm like, I don't know what happened, but he was just giving me a hard time. But you've been out for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, I just trying to be smart, trying to keep it clean. One of my buddies, Ian Barker, he's a foot surgeon. He was in town the other day, and he came by. He said, I need to check out this thumb because I know you, and there's no way you're not going to lose your thumb. And I just want to make sure I do my part to help you not lose your thumb. And he looked at it and he goes, you must have been born with a rabbit's foot up your behind because this thing actually looks perfect. It's healing up great. So fortunate there, but just trying to be smart with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kel Schrader, he was the last one that made the national tournament, and excited to have him back. He didn't have a great tournament, but at the end of the day, we retained all 4 of these guys. He continues to show a lot of promise. He was a JUCO national champ, and I think with a full season under his belt, we're able to get MRIs on him as well to figure out what we need to do to get him healthy. Just excited to bring them back. So, and moral of the story is, was it the national tournament we wanted? Absolutely not. But like I said, excited to retain these guys to continue focusing on what we need to do to improve, not only technically speaking, but mentally as well, so that we can have a better showing next year.
Absolutely. And you kind of glossed over it, but just to be, clear about with Kale, I mean, that first competition we had at the Yorktown with the slippery conditions, he really tweaked his knee pretty bad there, and you could that's when the match changed. He went from dominating that match, tweaked his knee, allowed the Lander kid to come back, but he battled that knee all year. So getting the imaging, figuring out what's wrong there so that he can be healthy. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, for sure. So excited to get those guys back, kind of as the core that we can continue building around, but also the recruiting class of 2025, which we mentioned in passing on the last episode, that continues to shape up. We got a couple really critical weekends coming up here at the end of April, hoping to land a few impact guys at some weight classes where we're graduating other guys at, and just pumped to have another season and another go at it. So
absolutely.
Next up, I wanted to jump into block 3. That's the pack leader interview. We were fortunate enough to have Nurse Nolan make some time for us on the podcast. He's awesome.
Yeah, Nolan is a guy that we have missed a lot, and he is kind of one of those secret savages. Yeah. He's the guy that doesn't say much, but when he does, you better listen.
You better listen because he's coming at you hard. So no, he's awesome. He was when you talk about a pack leader and the coach's award, he definitely checks all those boxes and everything you want in a student athlete. So we're gonna jump into that one, and here we go. I want you to tell everybody though, just pretend people don't know who you are. Tell us your name, where you're from, when you graduated, and what your major was.
Okay, so I'm Nolan Wheeler. I'm from Dahlonega, Georgia. I graduated in May of 24, and I was a nursing major.
One of the best to do it too, man. You and Mondo killed it here.
Yeah, it was definitely a good time in Newberry.
Yeah. And now that you graduated, kind of, get everyone up to speed on what you've been up to post graduation.
Post graduation, so I moved up to Middle Tennessee, and I'm a nurse up here at a hospital in the operating room. And I've been taking some more prerequisites despite being a nurse already to get ready for med school.
What kind of medicine are you looking to go into?
I want to do orthopedic surgery. It's kind of been a goal of mine since about eighth grade.
Sign them up for the pin pool, coach.
Yes, sir.
You got to give me a few more years.
Nah, yeah, that's awesome though, man. I think great career, and obviously you've had some pretty unfortunate injuries, so you know all about kind of that area, and I think you make a great surgeon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to be able to like share my personal experience, especially with the recovery of some things and, kind of educating.
Definitely. Are you there? I feel like I lost you.
Think he's got
Yeah,
just
my
a little lag here and there.
Okay, cool, cool.
connection sucks.
All good. I feel like the non-traditional path you're taking, to medicine though, is actually gonna make you a better doctor. A, you're a wrestler, so you know how to work. But B, just having like some real life work experience. I feel like when you get into med school, you'll find like, it's not, it certainly won't be easy, but I feel like you'll find that you're just a lot more prepared, I would say.
That's what I was hoping. I know I took a very untraditional path, as you were saying. But with nursing experience, I get to at least interact with patients on a daily basis, get to build my, you know, provider and patient skills, and get to learn things along the way. I get to pick the brains of established surgeons already, how they did it, how they do it again, things of that sort. And having the wrestling background definitely helps me with, like you were saying, working and knowing on how to work and on how to sacrifice, and that sacrificing might be the best option, even though it's not the easiest option.
Right.
Well, and not even just the medical side of things, but just like having a job and working and knowing that like the real world kind of sucks a little bit and all that sort of thing. I think gives you a really good perspective going into med school when you're going back in with younger guys who have only taken that traditional like school to school route. Um, Being a little older, a little wiser, I think is gonna help a lot too.
How did you end up at Newberry, Nolan?
Definitely.
Kind of walk us through like, that senior year or whenever you started getting connected with the program and what the recruiting process
Hmm.
was like and what brought you here.
So in my junior year, I started doing a bunch of off-season tournaments. I knew I wanted to go to college. I'd kind of been in contact with some schools. I'd never actually heard of Newberry, and I went to school up in I went to a tournament up in Mooresville, North Carolina, and it was just a off-season tournament, and I was wrestling like 170 or something like that. I was way too big for how big I actually am. And Coach Ownby came up to me and he's like, "Hey, I'm Daniel Ownby. This is my wife. And have you ever heard of Newberry College?" And I was like, "No, I don't even know where that is. I've never heard of Newberry in general." And he was just telling me a little bit about the program, told me about Coach Sy and his record, and I was like, I might be interested in that. And then I kept in contact with him. And then leading up to Super 32, I hadn't signed with anybody yet, and wrestled Super 32. But leading up to that, I was practicing probably 3 times a day. I was practicing before school, and then like a little after school practice, and then I would go like weight train or something. Then I'd come back and just get a free rolling with a couple of my buddies. Um, Wrestled at Super 32, went like 3-2. I was so sad. I got DQ'd my last match because I had one too many illegal throws.
Dang,
Um, well, the kid kept standing up and he was begging for it. He kept trapping my arm as the return man, so I would return him with one arm, and that left me to going over my shoulder with the last
I see. That's
If
tough.
throw.
anybody's good for a
And
one arm at
yeah,
return,
the
it's
ref was like,
Nolan
"You're out
Wheeler.
of here, buddy."
Oh
So,
yeah. That's
well, yeah. So that killed my opportunity at Super 32. Took me out the first day. I was in the round to go into the next day. And funny enough, I would have wrestled with Chase Salday the next match if I'd won that one. I probably would have got mollywopped and gotten out of the tournament the next day, first match anyway. But um, I went there. Ombi was there. He sat not immediately Matt side, but right outside the like the fence on the matches and watching all the matches. I talked to a couple other coaches, and it was funny. Like nobody really showed interest in anything. I was like, well, it kind of stinks, but that's okay with me.
Yeah.
And then I think pretty soon after Super 32, I verbally committed and then signed in I think November.
Nice. Had you been on a visit or anything yet, or not at that point?
I came on a visit the weekend before Super 32.
All right. So you had at
Yeah.
least got to put your feet on the ground and meet some of the guys.
Yeah. Well, only a few of them. I got to meet like Palmer. I got to meet Brandon Dickman. I got to meet Damien and a couple other guys, but everybody else was home. So I
Yeah,
only got to meet a few of the starters and a few of the guys that were helping with the practice squad.
gotcha. Yeah, that was a good crew that you came into with that class. And you actually, so fast forward a little bit in your senior year, make the finals. You beat Devin Moore, right?
That was his senior. It was my junior year.
Okay. I needed to
Um,
just put that out there, because he likes to talk a lot of trash.
yeah,
Gotcha.
he reminds me of it every single time that I see him.
Nice, nice. But nah, so you come here and kind of talk to us. I know, I mentioned in passing a little bit some of your injuries, and I'll let you talk about that a little bit. Because when I came in to coach here, I think you were actually recovering from your first surgery. So kind of talk to everyone just about your career here and some of the challenges you faced with that.
So I had I guess, a pretty atypical freshman year coming in. It was COVID year, so we didn't wrestle until January that year. Our first match, or so we trained from August till that first match, which was that was pretty awesome. Nobody had to worry about cutting weight. Everybody was just in the mindset of like, let's just grind and get it done, like get ready for everything.
Hmm.
And to my best recollection, we just had dual matches, and then there was conference or there was
Regions.
super region and then stuff like that. So I wrestled my first match as against Mount Olive, and I came in true freshman. I was so excited. Wrestled a kid. I think I want to say I majored him. I think it was 9-1. He was a leg rider, and I about got beat real bad. But so I helped coach me through that, and Blanton was telling me like, "Dog, just seal off and stand up. The match is yours." So that's exactly what I did. Came back, and then the second match we had that season was at Emmanuel against I think it was against Liberty University in Emmanuel, if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken. And within the first probably 30 seconds of that match, I blew my ACL. The kid tried to lat drop me, and I just went to throw my foot out, and it like just caught wrong. I knew something was up. Trainer helped me off the mat, but I was able to walk afterwards. And so it's kind of weird. Like, is it really hurt? Is it not? I don't really know. Um, so from that point forward, I spent the entire rest of the semester rehabbing and stuff like that. And then I got to meet you. I guess that was summer coming in to my sophomore year. And then we had recruited us, I guess we got a transfer from St. Cloud, or no, Nebraska Kearney. That's who it was. Nebraska Kearney. It was Talon.
Oh, yes, nice.
And he was at that 65 spot where I was.
Who tore
Um,
my ACL? But anyway,
Talon tore yours.
yeah, that's another story. But
Okay. Yeah, so Talon came in, and so he was just he was a good wrestler, very non-traditional wrestler by any means, but he's a good wrestler. And so I struggled trying to make the lineup, and then Will Evans eventually got hurt, and you're like, why don't you just go 57? So coach, I never really thought of that. So I went 57, just went 57 for I think it was just for Super Region.
yeah.
Um, and then I ended up getting to the placement round for third and fourth because top three went to nationals. I placed fourth because I lost to a takedown to another guy who transferred to Newberry,
PJ.
PJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lost to him. I think it was 7-9.
Yeah, that was a close match.
But so that's how the first 2 years went before I really got to get to know you, coach.
Right. Um, And then, I mean, dude, the reason why we wanted you on the podcast is because, accolades aren't always an indicator of just leadership. And dude, you're one of the guys, like as a coach, any coach would want 40 of. And every year, always at the front of the pack, whether we were running outside, whether we were, you were setting the tone in practice with drill bouts, just bringing intensity. So, I mean, definitely your presence is missed. And it was kind of shitty the way the things ended your senior year with the injuries. But at the end of the day, I'm confident that adversity will continue to make you stronger as you go through life. But you actually tore your ACL. It was at Midwest, right? Or was it before Midwest?
Senior
Was that
year, I toured at Midwest. That was the only tournament I wrestled senior year,
Yeah.
or
And
the only
you,
matches I wrestled, rather.
yeah. And I remember you looked over and you were like, "Yeah, I tore it." I was like, "Well, he would know." So
Yep. Yeah,
That
that
was
sucked.
a feeling I had felt before.
yeah. But
And
no,
we were just so pumped that I mean, as soon as you were cleared to run and stuff, I mean, you were immediately like leading the pack. And we are like, man, Nolan is ready. Like he is going to surprise the folks this year who haven't seen him on the national scene yet. And then at Midwest, it was like first or second match, pretty early in the tournament. Man, that was tough.
Yeah. Um, I would like to say you said that I was like kind of at the front of the pack. I was told one time I modified it for the podcast that I was too special to quit. Um, so I just usually pretty resilient with some things.
yeah.
But yeah, it was the third match if we're actually counting.
Okay.
So first match I wrestled
It was
was
first day for sure. I knew
yeah,
that.
Thursday, third match. I wrestled a Colorado Mines kid the first match and felt like I had wrestled a live match for the first time in probably a year, which is probably about accurate. And then wrestled a second kid, which was an Emmanuel kid, probably for the fourth time in my career.
Y'all
And I pinned
wrestle
him
so
for my
much
last.
and always at the Midwest Classic.
Right.
Yeah, so we wrestled for the first time at Midwest, then we wrestled at home, and I feel like we wrestled somewhere else before I wrestled him again at Midwest.
Yeah.
But
I
I
remember
pinned him in Midwest, and I was just absolutely pumped. I was like, okay, we're bouncing back. And then I wrestled that third kid, and I just kind of went to hip toss him and blew my ACL. I was like, yeah, I think that's it.
that.
Yeah.
Well, hey man. Sometimes that's the tough cards we get, but you made the most of it. So, Fast, kind of just
Yeah.
as you think back on your time, injuries aside, what are some of the, I guess, the moments that stand out to you in a positive light during your time at Newberry, whether it's on the team or, chilling with Bodie and the guys, just anything.
I think just getting to meet everybody at Newberry. I met easily some of my best friends there between, Armando and Dez and Bodie, and then getting to know y'all, helping to see like how y'all have dealt with things just in life in general. Because, like you said, you usually have a bunch of old heads on here, so I get to learn from y'all. Um, and just meeting the guys on the team was probably the highlight of my Newberry experience and being able to refine myself as a person and figure out where I should be in this world and where I should not put myself and things of that sort.
Yeah. Do you keep involved with wrestling at all now still, or just pretty focused on work and whatnot?
I've been pretty focused on work just because I'm working 4 10-hour shifts a week and then just going back and forth with more classes. And then I actually just texted one of my old high school coaches and asked him if he knew anybody in the Murfreesboro area. And he sent me his brother's number, who actually lives and coaches up here at a school. And so I was going to try to connect with him sometime soon and either help out there or even just go pick his brain about where I could help out and just try to give back to the people who have given to me.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, man. It's an awesome sport, and I mean, I think you would agree. It's definitely made me who I am, and you learn so many of the things you learn like in the process of doing it and chasing podiums and championships. Like obviously apply to everything else you do. With that being said, kind of give anyone listening that's in it's a big recruiting part of the year right now, especially for us, next couple weekends for guys who are looking for their home, whether they're transferring or whether they're coming out of high school. What's some of your advice for that person looking for the next home?
Looking for the next home, I would say work your butt off. Nobody's gonna be able to work for you. So work hard, and you'll attract all the eyes to you that need to be there. And then from there you can filter it down yourself, and it's a little bit easier. But I will say I only went on two official visits my entire time in high school, and my second one was at Newberry. I stepped on campus, and but it sounds cheesy, but it immediately felt like home. Like it felt like that's where I was needing to be. That's where I should be. And although it took me down a kind of alternative path with wrestling injuries and then career wise, it just it seemed like it was the right place to be. That's not saying don't explore your options, things like that, but just grind and work hard and you'll get to be exactly where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely. And trust your gut. That's advice I give a lot too. Like if it feels right, go with your gut. So I like that, man.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
about for the team? I mean, this is a group of guys. You were just back on campus a couple weekends ago, so I mean, you're still pretty tight with guys on the team.
Mhm.
We're chasing a new streak, right? We had kind of a year this year that was not one we look back on fondly, and so trying to start a new streak. What's some advice you got for the guys on the team right now? Putting you on the spot with that one.
You can only make the practices so hard, but if you want to work hard, you want to make your practice partner work hard. You just have to constantly, compete in the room. Devin Moore is a great example of that. Me and him, it seemed like we were actually fighting every time we do a hand fight drill, but it's just because we were so competitive with each other. I wasn't gonna let him beat me, and he wasn't gonna let me beat him. It was constantly going at each other and constantly trying to make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. There's no other way to say that.
Yeah.
And even work on your own. Like you can't, goof off all weekend and then coming back to practice is just gonna knock the rust off. If you can have active recovery on your weekends, you can come back into the week feeling like, oh man, it's going to be a good week. I was kind of preparing for this. I'm ready to wrestle live this Monday. Things like that. Just working hard.
Yeah, 100%, man. We talk about that a lot. Just bringing that level of intensity to the room that you guys had. It makes a big difference, especially when you're able to translate that intensity from wrestling practice, when the whistle blows in the actual match. So that's really good advice, especially for like us. We're a younger team, and that's a skill and a concept we're still trying to coach into the guys and help them really, realize and be able to apply it to what they're doing. Because it ain't all about technique. You can have the best
Yeah,
technique in the world and still not execute.
absolutely. I think for my freshman year coming in, we had some absolutely great examples of how to be and how to act and what to do and what not to do. We had Isaiah Royal in the room. We had Caleb Spears in the room, and those are two guys like you want to talk about not doing things wrong and doing things right. They were always in the room. Isaiah would come in early to the practice room just to take a nap on the mat so that he'd be ready and in the right mindset to go and wrestle for practice. Like Spears, you would never not find him running around or wrestling or eating right or you know, they were always in
Yeah.
the right mindset.
Yeah. And Spears is the same way, man. Like he's obviously still fighting and training too. So I mean he comes he'll pop in every now and then and beat up on some of the bigger guys. Still got that dirty single leg. That hasn't gone anywhere.
Uh,
So, but nah, man, I really appreciate it. So I know when you were up here a couple of weekends ago, you mentioned a little bit about like transition, like y'all are looking to move. I guess kind of what's next with all that going on. Maybe you and Bodie, because you're for everyone that doesn't know, he's living with Bodie, who is one of our former heavyweights. I wish I had that Christmas card you sent. I would like show a picture. That was epic. But yeah, what's the deal moving forward for y'all?
moving forward, I think he's trying to get a place a little bit closer to his school, and I'll probably stay right here where I am. Just trying to finish the rest of my prerequisites because those are expensive. Got to get them taken care of. Got to handle my business while still putting aside money. So there's not just a ton of money floating around right now. So figuring that out, then figuring out where I'm going to go to school between taking my practice tests and actually applying for colleges or med schools rather. Um, that's kind of where my balance is.
And when the MCAT? When you got to take that?
The MCAT is May 9th, so it's from this Friday.
How we feeling? How we
It's
feeling
three
about it?
weeks away. It's a long test. It's it's four sections and it's 53 questions, 59 questions, 53 questions, and 59 questions, just back to back to back to back. I actually took a practice exam before I got on the call with y'all. I got up at like 6 this morning so I could start it at 7 and finished at like 1:30 and kicked my butt and it's going, but
Yeah.
Hey, if you need help studying, you know I'm a good
I've
study
got a lot of
partner.
room to work and improve like usual.
Yeah.
That's right. We actually, me and Blanton, the reason he says that, me and Armando used to sit the road right behind Blanton on the vans, and we'd be talking through the material because we'd have an exam like the next day or the day after, and be coming back from a match or a tournament. We'd just be talking through the entire exam or entire study material, and Blanton would just like bounce ideas off of us and kind of reaffirm our understanding. So he's an excellent study partner.
Well, hey, you got to get them. If you need a little training camp before you jump into the MCAT, make a trip down.
We'll go. We'll go
Definitely.
rent a van and call Armando and make it just like old times.
Just like old times.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, good luck. I'll definitely be rooting for you, man, and hoping it goes well. And then, like, have you already submitted applications for the schools you're interested in, or does that come after you get your scores back and that type of thing? Because I guess you can't apply if you don't have scores.
You can apply if you don't have scores, like if they're pending or something like that. But most schools, let's say, there's one school I was looking at. You have to get your primary application in by the first of the year, then your secondary in by the 1st of March, and then after that, they like to have your MCATs by at least April. Well, since I'm not taking it till May, it kind of threw off that trajectory a little bit, just because I was still taking courses leading up to that, and I wouldn't have had as much time to study. So my application will be a little bit further out from now. There's some schools that'll accept them in the fall for the next year, or some that'll just start at the first of the year again and go along like that.
Okay. So you're looking at pretty much starting next August potentially.
Yeah, summer of 26.
Summer 26. Okay. Cool, man. Well, yeah, we'll definitely be rooting for you. And we always got nothing but love for you and appreciate everything you did for the program. On and off the mat, the example you set. We literally to this day when we got guys that come in, and they mention, oh, I want to, go in healthcare, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor. Like you and Mondo are two like the first people me and Blanton mention every time. So I feel like y'all really helped set the standard as far as like what it looks like to balance academics and athletics and to be able to do both at a high level. And I mean, you can even see that now. Like we just finished top 3 in the country, team GPA wise. We had the most academic All-Americans we've ever had. We had 11, which is new territory for us, as you know. But
I'm well aware.
but I think that's because of the example you guys set, man, and just letting guys know that you can be a good wrestler and work hard in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, going into the nursing program before Dr. Jerry Elwan was the dean of nursing, there's
Mhm.
another dean, and she told me my freshman year, she's my advisor. She told me that none of her students were athletes, and if they were, they wouldn't succeed. I'm a pretty hard-headed person, so I wasn't going to let that turn me away.
Mhm.
And so she ended up moving out and moving to a different school, if I'm not mistaken. Then Dr. J moved into his position as the dean, and it was just I had nobody who was shooting down my ideas. I had nothing but support going into that, and then I got to be a team GPA booster for y'all.
Nah,
You were
man.
definitely that.
Yeah, Dr. Jason, man. Shout out to him, pin pool member too. So
Yep.
he still checks
Absolutely.
in. Did you get to catch up with him when you were back a couple weekends ago?
I did. Me and one of my old nursing buddies, we went over and we got to talk to him and tell him about how we're doing in life, and everything's still going and everything's still going good.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, listen, dude, I appreciate it. We got later this month, I'll be getting out like RSVPs for alumni weekend. So I know you got a busy schedule, but in the fall, if you are able to make it, circle the calendar because we'd love to have you back on campus for alumni weekend.
Yeah, that'd be great. It was good talking to y'all.
Yeah, you too, man. And we'll get you some gear in the mail too. I'll shoot you a text here in a minute. Even though you did get me for good gear when you were here already, though.
Hey, look, I don't know what you're talking about.
I had to make a trip over the room for this.
That's true. That's true. Well, all right, man. I appreciate it. We love you, and yeah, we'll definitely be rooting for you on May 9th.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was good
All right.
talking to y'all.
Yeah.
Yep. Great seeing you, bud.
See y'all.
Coach, what do you think?
Love catching up with Nolan. A lot of fun. Just a fun guy to be around. He's like the type of guy that you hope moves next door to you, so you can just hang out on the back porch, a couple times a week.
Yeah.
In the evenings, just hanging out with him because whatever he's doing in life, no matter how boring it sounds, he makes it sound fun.
Right, exactly. So we appreciate you making time to join us, and also good luck because I know he has the MCAT coming up on May 9th, which is a very hard test, long test. He mentioned that practice exam. He before he jumped on the interview with us, he started at 6 a.m. and didn't get done until like 1:30 p.m.
Right.
So glad he's able to get some practice reps in, but good luck on May 9th, Nolan. I did gloss over at the end in the last block when we're talking about all things Newberry Wrestling. The biggest, probably one of the brightest moments of the season.
If there was anything to not forget, it's this.
Right, was we did set a new program record for most scholar academic All-Americans and the highest team finish we've ever had.
Yeah, the third in the country, Coach.
Yeah, so third in the country, and then we had 11 academic All-Americans. So was really proud to see that. Was really surprised to see that.
We know these guys. We talk to them every day. Yeah, it was a bit shocking.
Because sometimes it's like the lights are on, but is anyone home?
Right.
But they get it done. So, and those guys are John Parker, Andrew Reed, Kel Schrader, Braden Tatum, Kel Alderman, Dayton Fields, Chance Jackson, Cole McCullough, Caden Peltz, Joshua Smith, and Ben Valdez. They all received academic All-American honors. And like I said, the team, we ranked third in the country with the team grade point average of 3.525. And, just really excited to bring home that honor because that's a first for us. And we've been preaching, doing both at a high level for years, and and we have been chomping at the bit. When I first got here in 2021 or whenever it was, I think we were just under, we were like at 2.8, and every year we've been slowly getting better and better. So excited to see things continue trending in the right direction.
Well, and just to that point, like doing things on both sides at a high level. How many of the names you just read off are names that we mentioned in the wrestling awards?
Yeah.
I
think all of them. Yeah.
So the guys who are winning the awards for the wrestling side of things on the mat are also the ones who are getting it done off the mat, which shows, the culture of the program, everything's trending in the right direction.
Yep. And as Valley used to say, direct
correlation.
So yeah, and now moving on into everything else, it's Division I is feeling it, transfer madness, and just the trickle down effect that Division II is feeling. I think you see a lot of teams with these 30-man roster caps as that's being implemented and enforced. I think the traffic in the transfer portal has been insane, and I think that's why.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things that, like, I do kind of hate it for those D1 schools. So anybody who doesn't know, Division I wrestling now has a 30-man roster cap, so you can only have 30 people on the roster. Our number is 40, and there was a year that we literally only took 10 to national duels because that's all we had available. Putting a single lineup together was nearly impossible. We did take 10. We took one guy at every weight. After day one, 2 of them were injured, so we wrestled day 2, starting off giving up 12 points, wrestling with only 8 guys.
Still took 4th.
Still took 4th that year. Very, very exciting year. That was a lot of fun. But that's going to present challenges. But ever since they made that announcement, I knew that it was going to be something that benefits the lower tier, D2 and D3, and gives us a chance to be more relevant because some of that talent that maybe, I just want to go D1 just to say I want D1, or some of the talent that wants to compete at a high level and is at, a top school but sitting behind a national champ or whatever. If he doesn't want to go to maybe a mid-level or low-level D1 school, he'd rather go to a D2 and really compete and win national titles or whatever. That's where that stuff's going to hit D2 and D3 in a very positive way.
For sure. And even at the Division I level, you just see tons of coaches altering like how they recruit now.
For sure.
Got a couple quick facts, and these are D1 specific, but Flo actually put these up so you can go check them out. There's 73 of the 330 national qualifiers at the D1 tournament were transfers. So that's up like 5% from last year. I think they had 57. 20 of the 80 All-Americans were transfers, which was 25%. It says 354 of the 1,420 points were scored by transfers. 34 of the 66 teams at the NCAAs had at least one transfer competing. That's up 3% from last year. And then of the 73 transfers, 55 had their best NCAA finish. That says it's as determined by the number of NCAA team points scored. So just some pretty cool statistics, and it just really shows how the landscape is changing. You see, Ferrari going from California to Chapel Hill. I mean, just tons of big names just shifting and moving. And I think it all has to do not just with roster caps and how that trickles down with us, but NIL and just the financial impact that has on, drawing someone from one school to another.
Right. I think the roster cap is the newer wrench in the system. But because the NIL's been a thing for a couple years now, and then the roster cap's finally hitting and being enforced now. We've talked to a couple kids that are in the portal, and they're pretty much their reason for transferring is, coach said I didn't make the cut.
I gotta go.
So I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So we'll take them. But it also sucks for some of those programs, some of those kids, because you work your whole life, you get a scholarship offer or whatever, you go somewhere to wrestle, and then at the end of the season they're like, yeah, by the way, you're not good enough to make the team.
Yeah, it sucks, and you feel that for sure. And it's also changed the way, even in Division II, like some of the better teams in the country are adapting to that whole process. And it's something like when we wrestled, we were kind of homegrown in the sense that we're from South Carolina, but in some of our better years, Valak was getting transfers in. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily a new concept, but it's something I feel like in the last 3 or 4 years you see a lot of Division II coaches starting to become wiser to and adapt. And like Mount Olive getting recruits in there who are transfers, and Landers and the Glenvilles, and to, just so that they can have some immediate success. And it's kind of unfortunate because as a coach, like, just philosophically, one of the things I'm most passionate about is the development aspect. You might not be the world's best wrestler when you come here, but let's see how good we can get you. Like, that's something I'm really passionate about, but I also like my job and I like winning. Right. So, I understand the need for that immediate impact guy. So trying to find that balance is something that we're working to adapt to.
For sure, yeah, because I guess part of it too is when you're passionate about coaching and you think about coaching as the actual coaching you're doing, the development, the making the right moves, the decisions, we shouldn't pick top here, we pick whatever the case may be. The recruiting side, obviously, we've always known that recruiting is a big deal, but not just the traditional recruiting, but hitting that transfer portal, putting the right spin on the right guy. I think one thing that we're seeing with this roster limit in D1 that's more straightforward, I think, than has been in the past is there's a lot of times you're looking at it, okay, this kid's a D1 transfer, but is he a D1 transfer because he was never really a D1 kid and he just had that dream of, I want to say I'm D1, and then you're basically getting a D2 kid anyway that you could just recruit from high school? Or is it a hammer who's a little jaded or wants to compete at a super high level and have a lot more success? So, like Houston Evans came from Virginia Tech, he was in their lineup a little bit. So it's not like he couldn't compete. Same with Taylor Knapp. So we've had some guys who were D1 and D1 transfer in, but we've also gotten some guys who were D1 and probably should always have been D2. Yeah. But with this roster cap, all those D1 guys who are getting told, like, you didn't make our 30-man roster, but you would have made a 45-man roster. Yeah. Those are the ones that I think D2 and D3 are benefiting so much from right now.
Yeah, 110%. So, it's crazy out there right now. And I think you'll see a slowdown as we get closer to that cutoff date where there's implications for, like, financial aid and eligibility if you transfer after said date. But it's been pretty busy and crazy. So, look, even at the Division II level, you can expect to see a lot of changes next year.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say congratulations to our South Carolina National Guard Players of the Week. Alexa, help me out with last name, y'all.
Gambarino.
All right, so Suarez and Sean Price. So Alexa, she won this award because she posted an undefeated singles and doubles week as a number 32 ranked Wolf, and she went 2-1 to earn the 3 seed in this week's SAC tournament. And so she won all 5 of her singles, 2 doubles matches for the week, and her doubles partner Margarita Rashka. Did I butcher that? All right, her 6-1, 6-3 singles victory helped the Wolves knock off Carson Newman 4-0 and leapfrog over the Eagles to earn the 3 seed. Sean Price, he also won the South Carolina National Guard Player of the Week. He had a season best in the javelin to win the Southside Power and Fitness Invitational at Lenoir-Rhyne. His best throw of 185 feet on the second attempt to beat out the second place finisher from Lenoir-Rhyne by nearly 7 feet, and is the second best throw in the SAC this season. Did I butcher any of that, guys? All right, cool. So
winning by 7 feet, that's like pretty substantial, right?
Significant, yeah.
Yeah,
goodness,
kind of like dominant.
Yeah, I mean,
like 185 feet is crazy.
Like if you get the best people in the conference all doing the same thing, you expect the be pretty tight. But like 7 feet, I'm 6 feet tall. It's like he threw it that much farther.
Yeah, that's a good point. So he's a dog. He also finished third in the hammer and has the 4th best hammer throw in the SAC as well. So sounds like we got a good one in O'Shawn. So congrats to those 2 athletes. Coach, you want to tell us a little bit about you and Coach Watson? I know y'all are boys. He's expecting.
Yep, Cole Watson. He's the newly hired offensive coordinator. He's He's a Newberry alum. He has been coaching. He played a few years of Canadian football. Career ended because of some injuries. He's been coaching since. Was here as a running backs coach for a few years. I think he was at Georgia State. I think he was at Coastal, and then he was at Tusculum in conference. Got hired back as the offensive coordinator. He and his wife are expecting a baby girl, so congrats to them. And I can't wait to meet young Bryant Tina.
That's great.
I've been giving him a hard time.
Yeah, that's funny. It's been cool to watch his like trajectory.
Yeah, man,
he's been
he's
getting
killing
after it. Yeah, so congrats to them. And then I wanted to just keep everybody to keep President Sharon's and his family in prayers. Obviously, we lost the president of Newberry College last week, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew that the memorial service is going to be April 23rd in Wiles Chapel at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And you got to imagine there's going to be quite a few things to just commemorate his service to Newberry College and his life in general. But for all of the student athletes and students of Newberry College faculty and staff, that memorial service is April 23rd, 10 to 11. You do need to RSVP because it's going to be packed, and I think they're doing basically tickets only type deal. So be checking your emails if you're a staff member and you want to make sure you're there to attend. But can't say enough about all of President Sharon's contributions to Newberry College. He loved this place dearly, and he gave everything. I mean, he served right up until his last days, and then he was still even consulting then. And so just keep their family in prayers, Sandy and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Sharon's been awesome. He and I actually started working here at the same time. He started in 2012, going into the fall, and that's when I got hired back to coach. So we always kind of had that weird little link and always noted it. But yeah, he was awesome. He's going to be missed. And again, if you would like to go to that memorial service, please RSVP, get your tickets, because I can tell you it's going to be packed. There's going to be people coming from all over. He's best friends with Mike Moyer, the president of the NWCA. So his reach was far and wide, and there will be plenty of people at that memorial service who probably don't get tickets, but will probably show up and just to be here.
Yeah.
Anyway, absolutely.
So definitely we'll be thinking about the Sharon's family. Last couple things this week in college athletics. Ryan and Alex, I'm gonna let y'all hit this.
So yesterday, which was Tuesday, April 15th, the men's golf team went to the SAC championship, and they ended up finishing 5th out of 13 teams, finishing over 2 teams that were nationally ranked, right?
Nice.
So yeah, they did a pretty good job finishing out yesterday.
Congrats.
Yeah, softball was at Augusta yesterday. Unfortunately, they dropped both of those, but it's just regional games, so at this point in the season, it doesn't matter too much. So they play their last conference doubleheader this weekend against Tusculum, which is very important for them, where they're going to play some playoffs if they can make playoffs, if they can squeak in with these wins. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Baseball goes today at 3 at a neutral site that Ryan and I had the luxury of working last week. They told us the day before, like, yeah, you guys got to stack this game.
You're like, all right, let's do it.
But now it's Mount Olive's problem, so that's good.
And then today, the women's tennis team, they just finished over at they're in Sumter for the SAC tournament. They versed Lenore Ryan. They just clinched it, 4-3 win.
And that one came down to the wire.
Yeah,
right?
to the wire. It came down to the very last match.
It was 3-3, yeah.
Yeah, it was 3-3. Came down the last match. We clinched it.
Nice.
So that means they'll continue tomorrow, and then hopefully if they win tomorrow, they'll continue on to the last day, which is Friday.
Okay.
And we got a busy weekend. We got senior days for baseball, women's and men's lacrosse. Women's lacrosse is graduating 9 seniors. Men's lacrosse is graduating 20 seniors.
Good grief.
So busy day on Setzler Field that day. I'm not sure the number for baseball, but it's also their senior day versus Anderson on Saturday. So I feel like it's going to be a busy Saturday at Newberry.
But hey, that's what it's all about, getting across the stage. So that's awesome. And then
we also have women's and men's track and field at South Carolina State on Saturday.
Okay.
It's one of their last meets, right? Isn't their last already?
Not 100% if it's their last one yet.
Cool.
They're getting down the wire.
Yeah. Well, good luck to everyone as you compete. I know we're wrapping up the spring here, just a few more weeks of classes. I did want to point out the upcoming game of emphasis. That's going to be April 23rd, and that's that women's lacrosse match versus Anderson. It's going to be at home, 4 p.m. on Setzler Field. So let's please pack Setzler Field for them as they go out with that one. And then coming up, we got a couple big dates. Coach, you want to talk about those?
Yeah. May 5th, we have the Wolfies, which is like the ESPYs, is sort of the athletics awards night. We do the academic awards over in the chapel with the whole school there, but athletes only will be here for the Wolfies on May 5th, and it's usually a lot of fun. team of the year, coach of the year, men's, women's, this, that, and the other,
They do
performance
it
of the
best
year.
dressed too.
But yeah, they do a best dress, which is not it's a nonsense award because I've not even been in the running yet, and I'm the flyest person there.
Hey, he
every
shows
year.
up decked out. He really
We'll
will.
remember that. We'll remember that.
So just I want to point that out that I'm boycotting if y'all don't get it right this year. And then May 17th, again, it's what we all come here for. That's commencement, graduation. So we'll have a few guys walking across the stage. Some will be able to come back as grad students, but always nice to see those guys who've come and put in not just time on the mat, but time in the classroom, get it done, and get to walk across the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we'll definitely be out there supporting. We appreciate everyone tuning in to the podcast. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, or if you're busy and on the go, you can stream us on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. If you're not following us on social media, please check us out on Instagram and Facebook. We're on Twitter as well. I guess it's X now. But shout out to all of our fans, and we'll see you next time.